We're on the Dequindre cut right now. It's a former railway trail. It used to be overgrown pathways that nobody could go down, and now it's a really great space for runners and walkers. It starts at Atwater Street and it goes all the way to Eastern Market. This has all been done through the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy that oversees the 5.5 miles along the riverfront and also this green pathway up and down the Dequindre cut. We realized that the connectability of neighborhoods was really important. So this is a safe way to get down to the beautiful spaces along the riverfront without crossing a major road, without being on the same road as cars and traffic. But the Conservancy itself exists as a nonprofit, and everything that we do is to benefit the citizens of Detroit. I think it's surprising. I think a lot of people didn't expect anyone to be down here. I mean, this is a place where people were sleeping under bridges, where the brush was so out of control you could barely walk down it. Most recently, we did a cleanup of the cut and we picked up 100 bags of trash. Like, the turnout from the community was huge. And even right now, we're out here on a weekday and you see people using the cut. We just saw a bunch of dogs walk by. We saw people running. We see people on bikes. This is our current project, the Dequindre Cut Freightyard. The turnout has been amazing. Bursts of people coming down to check out the food trucks and the entertainment, the pop-ups from Build Institute.
Our role was always to program the outdoor vending component of the Freightyard site. You'll see that there are 4 pavilions on site. They're kind of like really big metal canopies, and then we have 2 vendors per pavilion, and then we also have some spillover area called the market area with vendors with tents. So it's kind of just activating that space as a pop-up marketplace. We really didn't know what to expect. We were kind of doing it for the first time, and there wasn't too much we could look to as a reference. We're in Eastern Market, so there's already a ton of traffic there. This year we're having vending on Saturdays and Sundays from 11 to 3.
It's a good opportunity for them to figure out what their voice is and what works for them. We'll have live music, we'll have events down here. It's a great walkover from Eastern Market to add to your Saturday or Sunday. Working with a lot of different people made it interesting. It gave us the opportunity to say, this isn't entirely what we envisioned out the gate, but once we brought other voices in, once we brought other partners in, this is what came out of it. And while there might have been struggles throughout to understand how we brought everyone's ideas together in a cohesive way, this was really an effort of a bunch of dedicated people wanting to do something cool for the community.
We're out here on the Detroit Riverwalk with Matt Cullen with Rock Ventures, formerly of General Motors. And Matt, you were with GM in 2002 when you started, and you and a group of people started envisioning a riverwalk, a park along the Detroit River. Is this what you thought it would look like back then?
You know what, I don't think we ever hoped to be something this great, so it's good to be here with you guys. I mean, we bought the Renaissance Center in 1996, we being General Motors, and we looked out here and there was kind of bombed out buildings, and you literally couldn't walk from the Renaissance Center to the river because there's 3 lanes of roads, right. Abandoned cars. You look across at Windsor, you think about Chicago, and you thought, why couldn't we have something like that? The cement silos were over here, but a group of us came together, and initially the Kresge Foundation and the city and General Motors, and we said, let's start it. And then we ultimately put together a vision that was bridge to bridge, 5.5 miles, and we're well on our way. It's really exciting for us.
Yeah, catch us up on where we are exactly in that plan. We're here. It seems like most of it is almost done.
Well, a lot of it is. We are sort of from Joe Louis to Gabe Richard Park to Belle Isle was our first phase. We are well underway with that. I mean, I'd say probably 80% complete. A couple of really cool pieces are being built right now as we speak. Atwater Beach, kind of just over by Shane Park, just past that. It's going to be a great beach and playscape area for kids. Food barge and the ability to be out and have a cocktail right on the river and watch it go by. That'll be done this time next year. And then Uniroyal, that site that has been abandoned forever, just this side of Belle Isle. We're starting construction on the Riverwalk portion of that this year. Will be done next year, and so we're really excited about that. And then concurrently, we're turning our attention to the west, and we have the opportunity now to go on the water side of the riverfront apartments to make that connectivity. And then we're in the midst of a design process for a spectacular West Riverfront Park. So we're pulling it all together.
Matt, the intent here was to be more than just a park. This was to be an economic engine, a development magnet, if you will, for the area all behind the Riverwalk, all behind the park. Some of that got derailed, a lot of that got derailed when the Great Recession hit. Are we starting to see now this become an attractor of economic development along Jefferson or south of Jefferson?
Absolutely. I mean, we wanted to be a place where people came together, and it's become that. I mean, very inclusive, 3 million visitors, tremendous activity, but we wanted to be an engine for economic development as well. In our first 13 years, we're approaching $1.5 billion with economic impact, and the pace is just quickening. There's tremendous initiatives that are currently being contemplated. Harbortown just built a new tower. McCormick Barron just built a new residential development. There's a number of other ones that are being planned, so I'd expect to see thousands of residential units and restaurants and that kind of thing for the Renaissance Center going east over the next few years, and then of course, as I said, we'll turn our attention west. So it's going to be all those things that we had hoped, I think.
Yeah, and that's a huge change for a city that didn't think of the waterfront as an asset for so long. But the other thing that you guys do down here is you bring people here, and it's not just with sort of the everyday visits to the park. You have a lot of events that go on.
We have all kinds of events, but it is every day. I mean, here's a Tuesday afternoon, and it's always vibrant. By lunch, it'll be packed. We have a lot of things, but we have 50,000 people down here for walks and runs during the course of a year. We have yoga and gloga and you know, all kinds of different things taking place you know, around the clock down here. Music, of course. General Motors does Rocking on the Riverfront. Lots of other activities, but there's something kind of for everybody. We've got everything from a butterfly garden to a classic rock concert during the course of a week. So there's a lot going on.
And that public access is part of the point, right? The idea that this was developed by philanthropic dollars does not mean it's not a public
Well, that's a great point. I mean, it's always been, you know, bring everybody. We want it to be open for everyone, and we have raised the money philanthropically. I mean, the Conservancy is the steward, and we were responsible for creating the space and also maintaining it. We've raised about $175 million so far to do that, which I think we're all really proud of. And we have more work to do in that regard as we go to build out the West. But it's for the public, and that has been really from the very beginning, was create this perpetual public access to our greatest natural asset that we have in the city.
What do you expect to see on Hart Plaza? It's been long neglected. Is the Riverfront Conservancy going to absorb that at some point?
I think we'll look to partner with the city on that. I know the mayor and Maurice Cox and others have a lot of ideas around that. I mean, from a Riverfront Conservancy standpoint, we're kind of focused on finishing the east and building out the west. But clearly Hart Plaza is the most important link to that. I mean, it's sort of, you know, main and main with Woodward and the waterfront. And so I think we're all going to work hard to figure out what's next for there, because it's tired, it needs a lot of help.
How cool would it be to see an aquarium down here?
Well, I mean, Ron Kagan and the folks at the zoo are really excited about the idea. And look, I mean, the way things are going in the city, to have an amenity like that somewhere along the waterfront would be really exciting. So, you know, we're obviously working with Ron and staying tuned on that front.
Yeah. What's the one thing that government, local, state, could do to make this better or easier for the Conservancy? You know,
as we kind of go into the next phase of the Conservancy, Stephen, we are talking to the city and to the county. I mean, we did this philanthropically. When we started, it was intended to be with city support, and the Conservancy would augment it. But that was sort of back in the bad old days, right? And General Motors went bankrupt, and Chrysler went bankrupt, and the city went bankrupt. We kept persevering. But as we come out of this, it is a public park, and we do need some support from the city and from the county. And the state has been very supportive. We got the spectacular Milliken State Park. They've helped us on a number of other ways. But we're having conversations with the city and county about, hey, what kind of infrastructure support could you provide and other things. I mean, we clearly are going to be here as a Conservancy with an endowment to help take care of it, but we need we'll need those folks involved as well.
Okay, Matt Cullen, thanks for being here.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks,
Back
Matt.
to you, Christy.